couple of weeks ago, I installed a Chinese diesel heater in the workshop, replacement for a broken one that I couldn't figure out how to fix. And I recorded a video on it, interesting and informative, should you wish to watch. Link above down below. The day after I released the video, it broke, and it's been an absolute mare. So I set about researching problems with Chinese diesel heaters, and they seemed to abound. And I continued to be frustrated for a number of days, up until the point I happened on a channel on YouTube, would you believe, by a chap who was so incredibly informed about these Chinese diesel heaters. Gave me the distinct impression that he used to be a diesel engineer or a marine engineer of some kind, because he took everything apart and explained everything in minute detail. I think he's done something like 17 videos on them. Amazing guy. Again, I'll put a link above and down below. Well, I've watched all the videos and found out what the problems were with mine and fixed them. So herein lies the problems and the solutions. So here's the unit back in the condition that I've received it in, all bar Jubilee clips each end of this pipe, which I haven't put back on. So point number one, the fuel tank isn't fixed inside the housing in any way, shape or form. So it's loose to move around. And if you're fitting this inside of a vehicle, you really don't want that, especially when you look at the screws that were used to fix on the front plate that holds the controller. I'll bring you in, but I'm sure you can see from there. If it's in a vehicle and there's a bit of a jolt, that could easily push forward onto those and puncture the fuel tank. So that's a 9mm projection. Not so good. I'd probably want to fit a little bit of neoprene or something over there. Point number two, probably not much of a major issue. In fact, that's not a major issue, but needs addressing. Point number two, the outlet on the fuel tank is about 10mm up from the bottom. And this is marketed as a 5-litre tank. So by the time you take that into account, you're probably losing half a litre, maybe a litre. So more refills are necessary. Point number three, and quite an important point. Now strike that, a very important point. The fuel pump hasn't been mounted vertically. Apparently the angle that the fuel pump is mounted at is important because of the design of the pump. That being that the diesel oil itself is used to lubricate the piston that's inside. So a little piston is agitated back and forth, and as it draws back, so it brings in the fuel, and as it thumps forwards, so it ejects the fuel from the pump. And all according to this chap, if the pump is mounted horizontally, then part of the piston won't be lubricated. And there's no sleeve in there for the piston to run in, or a piston ring. It's just precisely machined, metal on metal. So part of that will wear out and cause the pump to fail. Also, apparently because of the way the pump works, it will naturally generate little bubbles in the fuel line. So if you have the pump that way, the bubbles build up and create a dry patch and the pump wears out. While we're on the pump, the type of fuel pipe supplied with the unit is the wrong type. Again, I'm probably going to use the word apparently an awful lot. This pipe is flexi pipe, and you can see I can squeeze it with my fingers, and that is the wrong type of pipe. This should be hard nylon pipe that you can't squeeze, because inside the unit itself there isn't an injector, there's merely an atomizer. So it's the pressure from the pump that squirts into the unit. So if this remains as flexi pipe, the pump squirts the fuel out, the immediate pressure caused by that is absorbed by the pipe flexes out, so the fuel dribbles to the unit as opposed to getting squirted into the atomizer. The control panel itself, and I don't think this is just my eyes, is an absolute mare to see. In order for me to see it, I've got to angle it to approximately that angle to be able to read the screen clearly. If you're face on to it, if I'm face on to it, I can't see it at all. It appears to be extremely dimly lit. And as yet, I haven't figured out how to brighten the screen. So I'm going to mount it to make it easier on my eyes. And finally, the exhaust pipe. Extending the exhaust pipe is fine. Extending the exhaust pipe with the same size bore is not fine, because it creates too much back pressure for the poor little thing and it won't start. So by all means extend the pipe, but I would suggest extending it into a larger bore so that there's room for the exhaust vapors to dissipate easier and not increase the back pressure on the unit. So let's rectify these problems. I went on to eBay, I believe, I'll put links to these below, and bought myself a little kit with the appropriate sized tube, hard nylon tube, 2mm inside diameter, and a fuel filter. One thing I forgot to mention was my unit didn't come with an inline fuel filter, which it absolutely must have because diesel oil's dirty. So I'm going to fit this hard nylon pipe to the outlet side of the pump and then on to the bottom of the unit itself. I'm going to mount the pump vertically. I'm going to increase the length of pipe from on the inlet side of the pump, and I'm going to increase it quite dramatically over this so that there's enough pipe length for me to take this away and drop it onto the floor should I need to. So what I'm doing here is marking the bottom of the pump, so I know exactly where to cut the pipe, because I don't want it too long and I don't want it too short. And also I don't want to do the final cut with my side cutters because they will squash the pipe as seen there, hopefully. And we don't want that. So I'm going to use a knife. I've got a little bit of flex there. And by doing that, I'll know that when I've pushed that up into the sleeve that far and the sleeve fully sits home, that rigid pipe is touching the bottom of the pump. Well, that's my mods complete. So I've installed the fuel filter there just below. So the filter itself will be gravity fed, but then the pump is going to suck through the yellow pipe and then inject down through the 2mm nylon pipe this side. I've also changed the placement of the heater. If you remember in the previous video, I said I didn't want to drill any more holes in the wall of the workshop, and I haven't. I've made myself a pair of cutesy little brackets. Come have a look. So I'm still here underneath the world's most awful drill and charging station, and there's the original hole in the wall and my little pair of brackets. So I'm going to sit the heater on top of that and then connect up the exhaust pipe, and then I'll fill up the tank and we'll prime the unit ready for first fire. Fingers crossed. So to prime the unit, hold down the arrow down key, press the OK button, leave the OK button go, and leave the arrow key go. And then pressing the up key will initiate the priming. So about the only thing there is to see here is the fuel coming up the fuel pipe to the pump there. Okay, so we're primed and ready for first run. Fingers crossed. It takes a couple of minutes to get its act together. So it's now warming up the glow plug. We have warm air. We've not finished the start cycle yet. So this is the unit now settling down after the startup cycle's finished, and it's set to 1.8 gigahertz. So that's 1.8 pulses of the pump per second. So I'm reliably informed. And there it is, all in and finally finished. I've mated the control panel on the wall. I've got the air inlet feeding out the back, and I've got the warm air outlet pointing to the floor. My theory being hot air rises. Sounds reasonable? We'll see. So the unit's really nice and quiet. It's running at 2 gigahertz, so firing the pump twice per second at 0.02 of a milliliter each time it fires. So the issues I discovered were all fairly minor and easy and cheap to rectify. The kit that I found online, complete with the correct fuel pipe, the adapters, Jubilee clips, and a fuel filter, was, I believe, £12. But as I said, I'll put the link down below in the description. That was easy to change. Pump not vertical, easy to change. Exhaust too long and wrong size, my fault, not the unit's fault. Screws on the controller, easy to change. Fuel tank not secured. I've not secured the fuel tank, by the way. I don't feel that I need to, with it being in a permanent fixture. If you're going to mount yours in a vehicle, then I recommend you do secure the fuel tank somehow. Cable ties spring to mind. Control panel angular view rectified at nice angle on the wall. The only thing I haven't done anything with is the fuel pipe outlet too high on the tank, but again that could be rectified by tilting the back of the tank up and therefore throwing all the fuel forward. I'm hoping to have many a long, happy and warm day in the workshop now throughout the rest of the chilly period. And that's about it for this video. I hope the information that I've found and presented will be of some assistance to you if you decide to buy a Chinese diesel heater and warm your workshop with it. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Ta-ra! What did we think of that? Not bad, but my knees are aching. Yeah, fair point.